Okay, guys, do you hear me well online?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Oh, super. So easy today. So we don't have technical problems, I hope. Do you see well the board?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
Yes, we do.
okay. Then we'll start from checking, double checking the exercises on the calculated exercises, and then move to the other. That's all we have today. So let's start from volunteers. Who voluntarily write your calculations that we have for the exercises? The first one will write, yes, thank you very much. Welcome. Maybe first, the first slide with five exercises that we started last time. And then we'll ask the next one, Maria. Yes, please.
Do you mean the exercises from the tutorial 2?
What? Excuse me?
Do you mean the exercises from tutorial 2?
Yes, exercise from tutorial 2.
We also can demonstrate our prints.
Okay, we ask, I forgot your name. Julia. Julia. Okay, we first ask Julia. She will write for us the 5 exercises and we will double check. Then if you want to, okay, guys, the other guys online, have you read my message? If you are with us, may I ask you to stay with your video mode, in the video mode, please?
I'm sorry, today I have some problems with camera. When I try to turn it on, it's just like so I don't know.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, if you really have a problem, write to me the message. If you can switch on, it can't be 12 students that can switch their cameras. So please switch on the cameras. The others. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, nice to see you. Great. Let's stay together. Okay. So, do you see well what Julia is writing? Do you see well? No? I will comment.
Yes.
Okay, guys, since now I will keep my right to not give you full participation online, guys, if you are without video camera. I will know that you are linked, but I can't recognize your full participation, sorry. We finished. Oh, great. Do you see well what Julia wrote? Maria, is okay? Anne?
Yes.
Yes, thanks. Yes, thank you, Julia. We'll talk about this. Say, Mustafa, what do you want to say?
Dear Professor, I cannot see what she writes.
No, you can't see?
No.
Okay, just a second. I will try to move camera closer. Maybe it will help. You don't see the whiteboard.
see my video, do you?
No, now it's turned
No.
off.
Okay, disconnect it.
what? Present value discounted by future value. That is the formula that we need to have, okay? You see what, my writings, guys, online? You see my writings?
Yes, yes, we see.
Okay.
Yes.
Just let me know if I'm writing and you don't see what I write, okay? Because, so that is the formula for the third. The formula is what we are deriving. We are deriving present value, right? Then it's typical from future value divided by 1 plus interest in number in power of 9. Спасибо. Вот вы меня тоже учите. Хорошо. Все время забываю это. Okay, so in power of 9. So the number 4 is the interesting one that I want to comment for your project. This is the cumulative, right? Cumulative flow, cumulative value of the future flow, which total 1003. I hope you all have this that, because when you will do in your project, and okay, I hear some space here. You need to do the model, the financial model. We start with year 0, then 1, 2, 3, and since that, oh, maybe I'll put it 0, 1, 2, 3. Since that moment, I would like to ask you, which kind of flows do you know? So we're talking about cash flow that generated the company that somehow, but this flow, cash flow, has three flows inside, sub-flows inside, right? They are defined based on for which purposes, so for which area of expertise it is. So which 3 kind of cash flow you remember, you know? And online, guys?
Yes, I want to answer. It's from investment actions, financial and present actions, like текущая деятельность.
Oh, Anil, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you much. I got your, I think Mustafa wanted to add? No?
I thought that you were like talking about annuity and perpetuity of the cash.
It's from the perspective of type of calculation, but we are talking about nature of the cash flows, for which purposes they are. So how are you going to make decisions about that? So I like what Anil told. Accurating. What did you say?
Financial and investment.
Oh, the 3 one. So you now recall the 3rd one, right, Anil?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the difference? Anil, which one you like most of all for business?
Investment.
Investment? Okay, what's investment cash flow? What is there?
It's like zero cash flow, which we invest on our project, and it's usually negative.
Okay, so this is money spent on the purpose of what?
To start our project.
To start, to buy equipment, to make some initial spendings, which will serve us the whole project further, but will never repeat again, and they are not repeated. They once happened, right? Can we get only negative investment flow, cash flow, or it could be positive? In which cases? Can you tell me, anybody? In which cases investment cash flow can be positive? What may happen with your equipment when we sell it? When we sell, absolutely, Julia. So it could be negative. We can expect the gain negative, but on the way we might decide to sell chairs, tables, the building, warehouse, whatever. It might be part of, or maybe there's some temporary equipment that we buy, and in the middle of the project we decide to sell out. So it's also investment. Any leasing, this kind of things is all related to, leasing, it's more difficult because it's more operational, becomes operational. So we split between
operating cash flow and investment in terms of when we spend money for the long-term business, okay? So in case of leasing, we have to spend that permanently, right, to make that run. But usually for startup, we have year zero, we get investment, cash flow, we start from that, and we say in year zero, we invest something, right? In this exercise, number 4, we don't have investments here. So here, nothing, right? But we do have the cash flow first. How we name these cash flows, as Anel already reminded us. Operating, because it comes from operations, from real business, why we are here for, right? So that's very important to, because there could be operating cash flow. It consisted of pluses and minuses again. Here could be mostly negative, then can happen, but we'll disregard. Here we'll go on the way pluses and minuses. So from where this money is? From whom? Operating cash flow. How we get these pluses from?
From investors.
From investors, you think?
Revenue from their selling your goods and product.
From doing operations, really. Yes, Anel. Yes, we selling something. We are servicing some, get the charges, right? So we collect money for our main business. So this is collections from clients. Payments, relatively collections to suppliers for the cost, to cover all the costs. For the very, very small business, or just ideally, cash flow should equal income statement, right? So ideally, we would like to get immediately our profit in cash, right? What prevents us from that? Gap between when we recognize expenses and where do we pay for that. But if there is no gap, that would be equal except one line. Which line makes the difference between cash flow and income statement? The one line, one type of expense that we never pay in this period. Taxes we do pay, maybe later. I take a year, for example, right? Within a year or a month. If everything is paid the same time when occurred. Right. Guys online, I give you the one type of expense.
Depreciation and amortization.
Yes, thank you, Mustafa. Absolutely. That's the difference between the profit and statement. Actually, the only one that's reflecting the feature of these two statements. The rest is just because the gap, the time gap between one and another. So, but depreciation comes artificially calculated in income statement. Then, because it was really paid in investment cash flow at the very beginning, you know, that's why we separate that. We talk about only at the year. So, if ideally that would be equal, it's just depreciation. We need to correct on depreciation. Then now we understand that operating profit should be the same as operating cash flow, right? So you really can match. You can compare operating profit with operating cash flow. You can compare what's below, right? Investments or something related to fixed assets. If not this depreciation hidden. So you take out depreciation and take some sale fixed assets or whatever reflected below the operating profit in income statement and say this is reflected or like communicates with investment cash flow in cash flow statement. So where is the rest part? The rest part is financing, right? Where we can find that in income statement, again below operating profit, and we talk about percent interest paid or received, the gains and losses from interest, right? Just one line. these smaller lines not important in profit and loss statement because become really important in cash flow projections and so on. And we name it as a special flows here. Still, it all can be matched. Why we do that? Because we know the time value of money concept. Because we need really to discount. And what for? We need this this information. So let's continue. So now from exercise 4, we understand that operating cash flow here is 432, positive 137, 797, and so on. Then, with better, that is how you're going to do in your projects at home, to construct financial model. And you can start now and input whatever exercises you do in this model by hand, not using Excel function. Of course, better for your project, please use, but I just really advise you to train this, writing this formula a while. Because for financial management, it's very important to not just to calculate, to communicate with managers, to communicate with people. And if you show and discounts and compounds and all that, they just go crazy, say, oh no, we never go to accounting or finance department, they just crazy people, right? But you need them to do this. Whatever you project, you need them to understand and to take commitment. That's why I prefer constructing financial models to all the lines and items, so I can show that to any manager and he absolutely understands what I mean. So what I mean here, I can say, okay, guys, I get the total cash flow. Let's now say it's, I will remove and I will say that is total cash flow. Because I don't have space to repeat this line. It's to just net cash flow, okay? The cash flow in our project is like that. For what purpose we need this information? We have two purposes where we can use this information about this law. First purpose, what for?
To calculate future value of our investment.
To calculate the efficiency, can I say that? Future value, which will lead to understanding of the efficiency of the project as a whole, right? But is it enough information now for that?
No, we will also need internal project return or just...
Yeah, we need to compare that to consider the cost of capital involved, right? The opportunity cost that we may invest our money instead of this project or somewhere else. So we need this discount to get the evaluation. Okay, so it's not enough. For which second direction this information is enough? Based on this line, which kind of decisions we make?
With the total cash flow of 3 years.
Yes, and if I see here minus at the initial period to investment is here, just in proper term. I understand what you mean, just use the proper term. By financing, right? Okay, so that's why we differ between investments and financing. Yes, we need to do these investments and to present in this way, we need for financing the company, right? So from that, we know when we need money, when we can pay back, and start to construct our financing flow. From that, add interest to be paid, interest, and so on, right? To that, all the financing flow. So from this, it will go to financing, but further to evaluation. And for that evaluation, we need to get discounting factors, right? What also I do in Excel, and I recommend to you, I just to explain my managers, I say, okay, discounting too difficult. I will say compounding, first of all. Compounding. Compounding, what is that? That is how your money, if I would invest in bank, how my money would increase in future, right? That is understood by everybody. And I say, if my rate, let's call it discounting, but just my rate of increase in my is 10%, the compounding rate will be in first year, how much for me?
1 and 1.
101 or 110%, right? The second year, how much? 121 and so on. Guys online, do you see what I'm writing?
Yes, we see.
Okay, so that is how I say my compounding rate, and from that I say, okay, next line will be my discounting rate, because as I expect, dear my managers, I expect these values to be 110% to what I initially invested. Okay, you didn't return me fully. Let's look at another year, but respect that will be even less. So I say here is 0.9 discounting rate, right? For the second year, how much? 0.8 is how much? 82? Okay, whatever. 0.82, okay? Then I can explain, and I say I can remove that from my financial grade file and just leave, because we're going to talk about discounts, right? And that is how I can track our financial model. And then, of course, I will get the cumulated flow discounted, and then I get my NPV at the end as one figure. But I need to disclose that year by year. So this simple exercise that can be done by formula, in fact, has a lot of meanings for managers, right? A lot of managerial effects and communication. So next, number 5. Is that clear what you need to do for your project? Guys online, I know you are really, hi? Okay. Guys online, are you okay? You
Yes,
see?
yes.
Okay, so please do this kind of exercise in your Excel for your further calculations and for your project. So basically, you mean to conduct this part, to create for your project your net cash flow. Understand how you can expect, who are your clients from whom you can collect, how many clients, how much each of them bring to your projects and so on, right? If you're in cafeteria, then you need to say, okay, how many per day, then how many per month if they're season. So it's different between months. And all that will, of course, depend on the horizontal planning. The longer we see the project, the what? The better the project is, right? Probably. The longer we see the operating cash flow without extra investments, the better will be NPV. So it's really very, very sensitive to what a horizon we see. How we establish the horizon. How we do understand, should it be 2 years or 5 years, your suggestions. For which you need to plan. Guys online, any suggestions how to?
It depends on.
Yes, so how we should decide 3 years to take 3 years or 5 years? To which factor we should look at? Suggestions.
You need to forecast.
So NPV?
We should compare.
NPV
Maybe rate
depends.
of return.
Anel, what did you say?
Maybe rate of return we should calculate.
Rate of
Rate
return,
of return and
it depends on the number of years. Which no, not really. No, NPV depends. But rate of return is a final calculation. But first we need to start to make prognosis, and first decision we make for how many years we do that.
When NPV is positive, maybe.
We don't know NPV yet. We're just opening up a model and say, okay, let's plan.
So we will.
It's depending on our
payback period.
you want to invest in a lot or
Diana, is that yours? Who said the payback period?
Yes, payback.
Okay, I noticed you. I'm see you from my back. Okay. You don't know payback because you didn't start. That's the very first thing that you need to start. Take a blank sheet of paper, the blank Excel file, and say, okay, for how many years I'm going to structure my business? Okay, I know that's not an easy question for even for experienced businessmen. For nobody, because that's a really very important, the major important decision. Depends on which you will get your NPV. Depends on which you get your ARR and so on. How this decision is made? First, you have payments again, and you need to see for how long these investments will work until I need refurbished fully, or maybe I have a contract with my landlord if it's about cafeteria, right? I take my investments in the certain cafeteria because I have a contract with landlord for 2 years, for example, okay? And I need to pay back in 2 years because this is a contract.
You can take the number of visits and
Yes.
See in what for how long NPV will be positive.
Yes, so you need to choose for how long. So based on strategy, you say, but strategy depends on that. Based certain things where you really be confident that you will live these years.
You can construct some function which calculate NPV and take number of years as a parameter.
Yes, we can construct function, but the choice is, first of all, managerial choice. How many year of project? So for your project, I suggest you take something really small, really very realizable. I don't know, cafeterias, I don't selling shoes, souvenirs, dogs hotel, whatever. You know, something that you really can go to field, find out who is using that, or Google that, and see how many people usually pay for that. Is there a seasonal factor there, and so on? What are the costs, typical costs for that? How many people's salary they need? How much space might cost if you locate here, there, or somewhere? So you just pick up all this data, and you need to understand seasonality and fluctuation of these flows. And you can't avoid to do that, doing that on monthly basis. Of course, you'll do that on monthly basis, otherwise it's difficult and what's about to be, especially if you're a startup. So, but you can present on annual basis if it's a longer project. On fitness club we construct. Of course, we can talk about like 7 years at least until we need fully renovate all that, right? Invest in another portion. Reconstruct school and so on. In cafeteria, it might happen sooner, but it depends, right, on our choice. So for your smaller projects, 3 years will be enough. Less, no, it's not so much serious. Usually, we would all prefer that at least 3 years we will live and benefit from the business that we invested in, right? Would be nice to have 3 years, first years of hard work, 0 years of investments, first years of hard work with negative operating profit, second year, more or less, people know us, and third year, you're quite stable, right? So something like that, if small business. So that is from the formulas and just the exercises. We come to real project discussion issues. So this is discussed. Then I wanted to give a floor to Indira, right? Indira, are you waiting for me still?
Yes, but I can't demonstrate my ecran because I don't have a right to do that.
Ah, I see. I gave you rights in the previous.
You can open my solution.
Okay, yeah, just a second. So pretty. Okay, you can open and I re-entered the system. Indira, please, welcome, go ahead. Сколько мы? 40 минут заканчиваем? Да.
Do you see my file?
Yes, we do. If you can make it a bit larger, the number of that you're talking about.
Number 7.
6, we 6, 7, 8.
Yes. That's my solution.
Okay, it's great. It's very carefully done, very beautiful. Okay, you have the same, guys? Do you have the same? So in
And there is the formula, of course, and the solution you can see it here.
So how about number 6? Would you like to invest in the stock?
Скотина! Ну-ка, убери отсюда макаку эту! От греха подальше! А то ведь пройдет сейчас! Точка невозврата!
I think no, because of the negative.
Right, you are. It doesn't worth investing. When
Мама меня бросила, ее и не помню.
probably that would be
А мама
really
даже
good
фигня с моим
brilliant
папой.
project, right?
Так что отца
We know
своего
that there
я
are
просто...
alternatives. So number
это грустно.
7, Indira, please.
Спросите что-нибудь другое.
Do you have the formula? Oh yes, your formula is
Выбрали
correct
взятки.
as well. Because sometimes students mix
А вот это
G
интересно.
minus L, but could be L minus G, right?
Понимаете, Мариночка,
Yes.
город – это
Okay, great.
сложная громоздкая
And-
структура. Им нужно управлять, соблюдая
the
интересы
eight, what-
большого количества
What you
людей.
have innate, what is your
Диаспоры, рабочие
solution?
места,
Yes, the
социальные
formula
обязательства,
you used from the
борьба
slides,
элиты.
correct? And you
Все это
got
требует определенно достаточно тонкого подхода. Так вот, с
86.
учетом
Yes, I think we
всех
got the
нюансов
same,
реалий,
Можете ответить на вопрос?
да,
Yes,
браво.
we got exactly.
Comparing with the solution in the board,
Вы на
they are the
вопрос
same.
ответили хорошо, а
Yes.
то, что брали,
Did you
плохо.
see that?
Хорошо,
So,
что?
yes, great formula.
Что еще
Very careful,
О,
very careful.
зачем это
Everything
робот?
well understood.
Сейчас расколется.
Thank you, Indira.
Тяжелых вызывать?
Because we really need to
Зачем?
be
За
clear
деньгами?
and visualize
Соколов.
everything.
Уймись ты уже наконец, а?
Talk to
Конечно.
people about that.
Давно пора.
Don't
Тихо.
understand. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Ну все, рыба твоя.
So
А
that
деньги?
was, just like
Слышь, ты не наглей, она 40 баксов стоит.
Давай, давай, шагай, шагай.
Might be quite long, many years,
Обалдеть.
but it's
Ну
a
всё,
number of years. It's
дело
our own
сделано.
decision. So we can
У нее была
just
стадия
say, okay,
отрицания.
we're not sure about 9
Стадию
years.
гнева мы
Let's stop
сейчас
at this
увидели,
point,
подкрепили
right?
все
Let's
это
see what happens
мистическим
at this point.
совпадением.
Does it work?
Теперь стадия торгов.
On
Давай,
the
иди,
other hand, what we
торгуйся
can
за
do if
лучшее
you have a
место
negative
в семье.
entity, tell me.
Слушай, сильно.
Anybody?
Молодец. Я, конечно, что подумал, я следующую стадию хочу
Why?
подождать. Как ты говорила?
Just
Смирение.
easier,
Смирение,
just
да.
because we like it?
Зачем?
Слушай, она не ценила.
Yeah, so we,
Она при детях надо мной издевалась. Ну как?
I like your answer because
Я даже
that's
когда вот этот тяжелый взгляд на нее
typically,
смотрел,
but this is
она вообще
so,
никак
there
не
must be
реагировала.
reason
Ну вот
behind.
пусть,
Sorry, what's
пусть помучится, пусть испьет эту чашу до дна.
Подожди, сейчас самое лучшее, что ты можешь сделать.
Спасибо. Все, ну правда, я понял, все нормально, я дальше разрулю. Скажи, у тебя в номере спортивный канал есть? Куда пошла-то? Номерки-то у меня.
We need to ask, are you gonna wait another year to get positive NPV? We can recognize that this investment can be longer than we originally calculated. Like we construct a plan. Who knows whether it's 25 years or 27,
Ой, как
who knows,
пахнет.
right?
Вкусно.
Or maybe
Мне идет,
30.
да?
So
Давай
if,
тогда
then we
это
may come to
доставай.
investor and
На
say,
фоне
okay,
дома
if you agree,
сфоткаемся. Ну ты же любишь
then we,
фотографировать, да? Давай, давай, доставай.
without any
Лайков
additional
наберем.
extra
Давай.
investment, that we
Давай, вот
just
так я буду.
add
Давай,
extra
вот так
2
сфоткаемся,
years,
да?
and let's see.
Чё, ничего.
Just
Ты понимаешь,
agree
что
that
ты
you
своим
can wait
дебильным
this year.
инстаграм мне семью
You
разрушишь?
will be
Тебя кто просил?
satisfied with this
похвастаться хотел, да?
ERL that will appear NPV.
Боже, между нами ничего нет, не было и не будет. Я тебя видеть не хочу.
That's why this parameter
Тресни отсюда.
ERL that you study further depend. What is ERL? Internal
Нет,
rate of return.
подождите.
It's
Как можно было отдать приказ о сносе Синеозерского монастыря?
Слушайте, что вы пристали? Хотел построить там торговую зону. Что лучше, эти развалины или прекрасный новый современный торговый комплекс? Шопинг, аймакс, яхт-клуб, наконец, ну, что угодно.
А в другом месте это построили?
Да вы не понимаете ничего, это там логистика, инфраструктура. Ваши монахи были не дураки, между прочим. Построили вот...
А здесь наша история. Ну это же наши корни. Неужели нельзя было просто взять и дать денег, чтобы восстановить этот монастырь?
Слушайте, такая красивая, когда сердитесь. Никогда не
and if
сердитесь,
you got
тоже
NPV
красивая.
positive, the percent
Вообще
is
красиво.
higher, just let's calculate how much. If NPV is negative, what happens with our compensation? Will the
Я
return
ответил на
on
все ваши
investment
вопросы,
be
теперь
higher
хочу
than
узнать
discount or
результаты
not?
экзамена.
Нет, не на все, сядьте.
If NPV is negative, as we had in example
Я вас
number 6.
слушаю.
У
Internal
вас есть
rate
те
of
деньги, за которыми
return is
охотится
less
спинка?
than discounting rate. That's why to achieve the proper internal rate of return, we need to make
Какой
NPV
интересный
zero
вопрос.
for the project at the end
Ну,
in your model,
допустим,
or
есть.
just use the Excel function.
День.
Okay? So that to
Конечно,
find
идет.
out with which
А почему это вас
discounting
так
rate,
интересует?
Меня интересует
discounting rate, you achieve NPV zero.
Вы же хотите со мной отношения, а откровенность — это их основа.
Okay, then any questions
Хорошо,
with
вы
your
не прошли
project?
экзамен, я пошла.
Ну почему же, я скажу.
Guys online, any question with your project at this point? No?
Деньги я спрятал в детском
So
садике «Золотой
basically, what
ключик».
I'm looking for that you construct this kind of
Одна из
financial model, the
воспитательниц моей
table,
любовницы.
but behind to
Бывшей.
get this simply presented figures, you need a lot of job.
Мне я просто так спросила,
that is
мне
the
вообще
major
не
business.
интересно.
So let's move to another.
Господи, я совсем забыл.
Надо-
Я же должен
надо
речь
так.
написать для Самсонова. Мы так чудесно с вами посидели.
And
Я прошу
let's
прощения,
talk
сперва работа,
about
к сожалению.
the bonds and shares.
Я пойду.
Всего хорошего.
Okay, I just want you very quickly to go through your stories if you prepare the examples of the types of defaults. Any examples of the types of
Есть
defaults?
контакт.
No?
Мне кажется, как все очень
Have you
просто.
done anything? You prepared? No?
А он не соврал? Соврал, конечно.
Okay.
А что ж тогда хорошего? Это была проверка.
Okay, for the classes, guys, as we all go in parallel, we try to go in parallel
Что ты долго трубку не берешь?
first group.
Нужна твоя помощь.
So if the lecture gives you some advice or some task, please follow what she's saying. So I will be deducting and adjusting between our days classes. Okay?
Твоя любовь,
But
что ли?
anyway, we don't have much time now.
Я спрятал в детском садике «Золотой ключик». Ты можешь поехать туда и проверить, все ли там тихо.
I will just try to 1-2 minutes to pick up types of defaults if you know from the life of some typical ones in Russia, on somewhere outside and global, maybe 1-2
Я не понял,
minutes.
ну в чем смысл?
Refresh any types of defaults.
Она сейчас поедет в детский сад. Там все тихо. Значит, время чистое. После этого Аникеев ей будет полностью доверять. И тогда мы узнаем все, что нам нужно.
Хитро.
Учись, Соколов! Соколов!
Ты что, обиделся, что ли?
Смысл?
Так, все отряды перекрыть! Вперед, 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 вперед! Пошли, ребята, пошли!
So, guys abroad, I think it's Mustafa, in who else from abroad? Mustafa, you're Manbayan Pulan, right? Manbayan Pulan. Are you from China? No?
No.
No? Which country?
I'm from Mongolia.
What?
I'm from Mongolia.
Oh, super. That's why I tried to ask you because I expect some Asian countries. So can you remind or tell us any default situation happened in your country with maybe some company or just in the country?
I don't know exactly from my country. So. No.
Okay, maybe you try to work at home and bring to me your suggestions next time. Meanwhile, let's remind just a few stories from that. Okay. So anybody found something about Russia? Mustafa, yes, I think you must have some.
Yes, I previously took one Russian economy courses, and I knew that on 1998, Russian government.
Tapas, thank you so much. No Russian guys remember that, but you do.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know the name of the bonds, but it led to 1998 crisis in Russia.
Yes, that's definitely, we need to remember crises, at least these two recent ones, to 1998 and 2008, when the whole banking system collapsed. And there was a technical default announced by our government in August. I think that was 18 August 1998. I remember from my life because me and everybody lost everything at that moment. And because Russian system, banking system collapsed. So all the banks became announced defaults, technical defaults. So first government and all this system, and then all the banks supporting that. So that was a total huge disaster, because by that time our country started to recover, and middle class since early 90s, like 5 years or so happened, they started to recover, collect their money for apartments. Most of that was the first thing people were buying at this point, the apartments, and they left all these huge money for the apartments in the bank accounts, a new banking system, developed a new economy, and all this banking system collapsed. So everybody lost everything, those who still didn't buy the apartments. That's why in that but that major like crisis that we remember, people were buying flats. If they could expect or could be afraid of the crisis, the first thing they do, they bought apartments. The other crisis, the less valuable items, they started to go in face of crisis. And in 2008, there was another crisis, but that was a global one that touched Russia as well. And that was default totally, also the whole banking and supply chain, the whole supply chain collapsed. Supply chain because like in theory and like dictated by US, the theory of finance told us many years that it's very good to have borrowings. Why? Borrowings are supposed to be better for the business than shareholder investments. Tell me. What is better about borrowings from banks compared with the owner's capital?
You have more power to control what is going on in your company.
Or stimulate demand from the money. It stimulates demand from the money, and if there is deflation in the country, it might help to increase inflation.
It's a very deep idea, but I'll start with that. So about control, I would really doubt, because what do we mean by control? Not direct, because banks, when we borrow something, we give their guarantees, we freeze our property, we can't do anything with our property. Is it enough freedom?
It will be freezing only if we cannot repay. Yeah.
No, it's always, banks always need guarantees.
From the start?
From the start, they just don't, if they don't have guarantees, they don't give you money.
Oh, guarantees, I mean, if you cannot pay them, then they
No, they need to have guarantees. Guarantee, it's a guarantee is some asset that is signed to the bank, that in case you don't pay, they get that. But you can't sell this asset. You can't do anything with this asset if it's under guarantee.
But in period when you have this credit and you don't have to pay this,
you can sell.
Yes, but then you can use assets to produce.
Yes. What about shareholders then? You can't use your asset? Can. And there's no guarantee. So for business, better from this perspective, better to have shareholder capital, because no obligations. Full risk on the shoulders of shareholders, right? They take full risks. They don't request any guarantees. Nothing.
No, by law, they request financial reports every year.
I can draw any kind reports for you, no problem. What do they really request? Not reports they wanna, but what do they wanna? No, what shareholders want from business, guys? Profit for to why they need this profit? To pay back over investments, right? If they consider if they take huge risk, whose payback is more expensive? The profit that they expect versus to the investment, or the interest that we pay to the bank, which is more costly for us in terms of return?
For shareholders.
Absolutely, because banks, they are guaranteed with our assets, we are absolutely secured, so they can charge a reasonable percent, even more. We can deduct, consider the tax deduction. Of course, we can consider a cost, deduct from taxation and decrease the profit, income profit. So it's very good for us. But for shareholders, we can't deduct, we just need to pay much extra than we would transfer to the banks, right? Without tax, without tax deduction and so on. So shareholder capital requests back much higher than banks pay back. And that's why in theory, long time, all the theory and US companies lived on that quite long, and the whole country lived on that, on the principle that the more you borrow, the better your business is. And in 2008, all the system collapsed because borrowings were much higher, even in many cases, than shareholders' capital, meaning you sell all the assets and still you don't cover your liabilities. Because they exceed the shareholder capital, shareholder investors, which is minus, for example. Law, the company produces losses, shareholders has minus, and liabilities are much higher. So since that, this crisis, 2008, opened eyes to everybody and say you really need to watch for your capital equity, debt equity ratio. You really need to watch that. So not to make it too expensive for business, but still not to face the bankruptcy, to face default. Okay? So with bonds, if you come back to bonds, the same. What is bonds? It's just a borrowing, right? Just not by banks and not guaranteed. That's very important, right? But from the like shareholders, which is public, like crowdfunding, crowdlending, similar to that. This is about default. Default may happen on the country level, on the company level, but that touches everybody in the supply chain, which is happened. And by the way, what happened in Russia in 2008 during the crisis, the first crisis, people were saving their money in apartments. In the face of second crisis, guess what was next in their list to buy? They were saving their money. They started to, like crazy, to buy what? Huh? Dollars always were, but you never know what will happen in dollars. But in Russia, people want to live. They always sacrifice your parents. I mean, now you live in much better environment. So the housing was a problem. Then what was another problem? Cars. People had no cars, right? It was very expensive. And so the next thing in 2008, people started to buy cars like crazy. Really, old cars were sold out in October, November. So everybody started to invest their money in this crisis. So we all have houses, have cars. Then in next crisis, 2014, people started to invest their money like crazy in TVs and in devices, in telephones, you know. And so you can follow our history. That's quite funny. Sad, but it's a lot to learn. So please study yourself what is the technical difference. Try to find and get comfortable with definitions at home. And now I would like to share you. Okay, we have just two. I have to recommend the table, the comparison of bonds and stocks.
You have it? You do have it here? No? Okay, you can tell, yes? Okay. Okay. I'd better, because it would be difficult for me to listen. Sorry, thank you, Asilbek. We'll probably comment, okay? I'll ask something. Anybody who can address me to the file that you upload? Any table? Guys, who uploaded the table with comparison with stocks and bonds? Nobody? Maybe online, guys? Some of you want to share with us table of comparison, bonds and stocks. And let's quickly go through it.
Table in my Excel file.
Yes, that's why I'm here. Can I open it?
It is in Teams.
Yes. Can I open it?
Sorry, let's look at.
Start with tutorial 2, then I can. I found it. Okay, guys. Guys online, please. You can open the file that we're going to comment right now. Oh, maybe I share. Oh, yes, I can share. How can I share? Guys online, do you see my table? Excel file, do you see?
Yes,
yes. Okay, so what is your name?
Aliya.
Aliya, I'm gonna manage her workings. Oh, yes, thank you, Aliya. I see you have a lot of factors, comparative factors. Let's please start while I'm making it.
The first is just meanings of stocks and bonds.
Can you please, Aliya, speak louder as a real financial director in face of meeting of managers?
Okay. The first line, it is just meanings of stocks and bonds. Stocks are financial instruments that carries ownership interest issued by a company in exchange for cash. And bonds, it is debt instruments issued by the companies to raise capital with a promise to pay back the money after some time along with interest. The differences between stocks and bonds is that stocks are equity instruments and bonds are debt instruments. Stocks are issued by companies, while bonds can be issued by government institutions, companies and financial institutions, and etc. Stockholders are owners of the company, while bondholders are lenders to the company. Stocks have more risk and therefore the higher return, while bonds have less risk and lower return in the results.
Okay, so we need to comment something, maybe to add. Okay, I'll sit here. Okay, do you have the slides now? Okay, guys online, I just cannot share this file with both auditors, you and those who are in class. I will please upload your this file. Okay, I will.
I think when you share your screen.
No, then they don't see. I need тогда здесь.
Нужно, когда вы выбираете поделиться экраном, вы выбрать весь экран.
Я все выбрала, просто у меня два экрана растянуты. Я могу либо таблицу показывать, либо вы видите, либо вы же смотрите сюда. Okay, guys online. So I hope you see the table. So you upload it. I will move the. I hope you see what we are discussing. So if anybody can add something to that. So I would ask you about issued by companies. Is there a difference? So you say, Aliya, say bonds issued by government institutions. So stocks cannot be issued by government institutions. Is that what you mean?
Like mostly issued by companies.
Yes. And all the companies? Or we need some specific companies? What about stocks and bonds? Who issue?
All the companies, even small enterprises, entrepreneurs, in any company. So mostly we talk about public companies because bonds definitely by public companies. Stocks, in fact, like if just stocks can be, it's not issued by the stocks, it's everywhere. So all the shareholders of small company, even there are 2 shareholders or 1 shareholder, 5 shareholders, or million shareholders, they all have some shares, right? And they do have these features, whether the company is limited or public. These features, the features of that, there's only one difference between this one, that the in public companies it could be traded. There is a special place. In limited companies, it cannot be traded, right? You need to consult with your shareholders, with your partners. That's why it's limited. So like private companies, public companies, that makes a difference. The rest will go for all the companies, while bonds will be only for public companies, right? So owners of the company, you see, lenders of the company. So what? So what? Is it just different wordings or it has its meaning? Guys online, what do you think? What does that mean? Okay, stocks, shareholders are owners of the company. So what? What?
They can elect boards of directors while the bondholders have no voice.
Okay, so the voice, the voting rights does matter. Do we always have voting rights for shareholders?
No.
Depends on share.
There is also one extra stocks, privilege.
Privilege.
Yeah. Because this stocks doesn't have any voting rights.
Right. So there could be stocks with shares with voting rights and without voting rights. Depends which you buy and what you think. Where you're gonna get the return? Expect return higher.
In privilege.
Okay, with voting rights.
Right.
Without voting rights. Why you think that? Because the higher return?
Higher return, yeah. And also they are expecting to be prioritized for dividend. So
so if they are prioritized for dividends, do you really expect that they take higher risk? If they have a priority, when the profit, if it's small profit, started to be shared. So we really need to towards that. We don't go deep in that, but if you go deeper into shares issue, you have different shares with different terms and voting rights without and the more you're guaranteed with your payment back, the less what? Of course.
In 2020, I bought some privilege stocks, so I have more higher interest rates and.
Might be. We need to look at the circumstances, but just in any case, we need to understand that the theory is the same. The higher risk I take, the more I gain, right? So while bonds are very secured but much lower, should be here, right? Look, you say probably here, right, Aliyah? For bonds lower return than in stocks is higher return. I wouldn't phrase like that. I would phrase that expected, that's important issue, expected higher return here and expected higher return here. But here could be even loss. We never know. You're absolutely not guaranteed, right? And expected it makes all the difference of the game. Another issue. Okay, in the dividend. So here is also definition. What's the difference between dividend and interest? Just wording or what? What the meaning here? Return is dividend. What do you mean? Return is what is dividend? Tell me.
Just payback payment.
What is dividend?
Which paid to shareholders.
Which amount of money? Which money? Just investment or borrowings or what is this money come from?
From profit of company.
Amount of profit, right? So results. So amount of profit transferred to, so portion of profit transferred to the shareholders, right? After everything. Here's just expense, right? Just expense must have. No result of business, interested, right? That's why this kind of, and the last thing before we go, okay, yes, thanks. Thank you for staying with me this few minutes. The last thing that we really is important, can the stocks and bonds be splitted in smaller pieces?
Of course, yes.
What, both?
Only stocks.
Only stocks, right? Yes. And here is the message that I want to give you. We are witnesses of a really dramatic change in the history of finance. Wall Street is dying, right? The stocks and all these stock exchanges, they will die soon. And all these crises, and they're not occasionally happen. A lot of things happen in economy and policy to, like, to dress a window what's going on in financial market. Because really the historical changes that we move from the stock finance to public financing. So the shares are started to be split in smaller pieces around many people, so that more and more people can take decisions or influence somehow, even without voting rights. But the many people, is, you know, this sharing economy and this platform, so they start to get closer to work like crowdfunding. So what is stock exchange? It's crowdfunding, in fact, but without digital platform, right? So now we're moving to digital platform, call it crowdfunding. We're splitting shares in smaller pieces, but it's still the same game. Risk and return. Okay? So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your patience online, guys. I appreciate, I appreciate you very much that you had the patience to wait for me. I'm here if you want to ask questions online, guys. I'm with you.